Not Quite
Darkness
is a podcast that contains spoilers, opinions, and general. Listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning back into another great episode of Not Quite Darkness. Great because we don't have the dead weight of Mr. Rob Prago here. My name is Keith Brooks. As always, I'm here with Chad Dowdy. Chad, how are you doing today, man?
Doing good. I'm ready to talk about the movie. I've got the right gear on.
Fuck yeah, I was going to ask. I got the Sharknado shirt on, but you got, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah, so Chad's shirt, if you're watching this on the YouTube, it indicates what we're doing. If you're not, you're probably confused if you're just listening to it. This might be our second episode, but we're here to talk about a scarier number than that, and that's the 13th, with Friday the 13th, the original film that started the entire franchise, that started the Chad, what do we want to say about it? How do we do this again? Do you just start explaining it? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that we just jump right into it. You know,
Cool.
like you said, Friday the 13th started the franchise. This is a franchise that, we're just to recap just a little bit. We're doing the In Search of Darkness documentary. We're trying to go through and watch every film that it covers. We're still in 1980, so we're here at Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
This was on, Prime or Paramount Plus, so we're only trying to watch if it's streaming. Because like I said, last time we may not own these movies. We're not going to pay for them. So
No.
we'll just, we'll go.
I think
from there.
we both own this one though. But my Paramount Plus, like I tried to watch it on Paramount Plus, and the audio sync was so bad that I had to go somewhere else to watch it. But apparently that's a common issue. Not to throw Paramount under the bus, but fuck you guys. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I watched mine under Prime. So yeah, I didn't have
Yeah, me
that
too.
problem.
Me too.
Yes. So Friday 13th, most people, if you're probably listening to this podcast, you're aware of Friday 13th. You've probably seen the original, but it's possible you haven't. But so, we start out in 1958 at, again, Camp Crystal Lake. Here we go. 1958. It's like a first person killer POV. It's not the first time this has been used. I can think back to Peeping Tom,
Halloween,
even
a
Black
couple
Christmas.
years. Yeah.
Yep. So, even the creators of Halloween, they've said that they just basically ripped off Halloween.
Yeah.
They've admitted that. So the fact that this movie starts off with the killer POV, just like Halloween, we're in it. But so we get the killer POV, two counselors sneak off to Bone, and then you've got while they're messing around, the killer, we don't see the killer ever. It's going to be a mystery. And if you're not familiar with the original Friday 13th, it may not be Jason Voorhees in this one.
Dun,
Look
dun,
out,
dun.
guys.
Or
Yeah,
should
exactly.
I just quote the Psycho score right there and plagiarize that? But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're doing anything anyway, plagiarizing. Yeah, whatever. It works. So, it's also though, when we hear the classic music for the first time too, is when the killer sneaks up. They see the killer and they seem to know the killer too. So that's kind of an important piece. This is not just a random person. Maybe the killer kills the guy, and then we just freeze frame on the girl where, presumably she's killed. Then we cut to present day. And that's what it says,
that's
present day.
after the title goes. Yeah.
Exactly. So we got to present day, and I'm gonna tell you, Keith, this is a huge pet peeve of mine when movies say present day, because I get it. If you're watching it in 1980, it's present day. If you're watching this for the first time, it's 65 years later. The movie doesn't make sense now. So
Touche.
I can't stand present day in movies,
Yeah.
especially if we've already established a date. Just say whatever it was 22 years later. Cause again, we're assuming this is in 1980 or 1979, whenever,
Yeah.
20 years later, say that then. You've already said 58.
Well, I think the thing that indicates it's 1980 is that this girl's hitchhiking and just arbitrarily keeps getting in the car with people. Like, that's enough of an indication that it's 1980. You know what I mean? Even if it wasn't for like the half shirts that all the dudes are wearing, like that
Oh
would
my
be.
God. The outfits. Yeah. It's pretty sweet. But you mentioned it, you get the random girl. We start off this random girl. And if you don't know the movie, you're thinking, oh, this is probably the final girl. We're in present day.
Mhm.
And now we're meeting this girl. And she's going to Camp Crystal Lake. And the locals call it Camp Blood because of what happened in the past. And she also meets, this is a trope in horror movies too, where she meets Crazy Ralph, the harbinger of doom. He's basically saying, don't go to that camp, you're going to die. It's like in Changeling, where they're saying, get out of that house. Well, we're starting from the beginning. Crazy Ralph is just saying, don't even go there. Don't go to the camp.
Yeah, but I think Crazy Ralph is my go-to example of that trope now. You know what I mean? I think maybe because I've seen this movie so much that when
I
I'm
agree.
thinking, like, I always go back to Crazy Ralph. But probably because like his neck veins are doing half of the acting for him. Like, Crazy Ralph always looks like he just smelled somebody fart really bad. Like, that's what he always looks like. So go ahead.
Yeah. You know what else about Crazy Ralph that is awesome? After, he tells her to leave, and then he just gets in his bike and rides off. Impeccable form on that bike. It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Absolutely. Because that's crazy terrain that he's going across, but he's totally solid.
Yeah, he is straight up and down. The posture is amazing on
It's
this
perfect.
bike.
Yeah. I want to know what his story was. Was he a professional bicyclist? Like,
Yeah, that's the story. Yeah, back in 1958 or whatever.
yeah.
He wasn't at the camp because he was off at the Olympics or something.
Yeah.
But so anyway, this girl seems like the final girl. So when we first see her, she's nice to a dog. So it's save the cat before save the cat.
Mm-hmm.
She is the person that gets told, don't go there. And then she, like you said, she hitchhikes, she gets a ride to camp, and she hears the story, the backstory of the camp about how, crazy stuff happened, a mystery kid drowned, So again, this is the final girl. That's who this is so far. There's no doubt in my mind, this is the final girl. Then we cut to some other campers arriving, particularly Kevin Bacon.
But also when they're arriving, I've seen this movie probably hundreds of times. I never really noticed that they're arriving to bluegrass music is the music that they're playing as they drive up. And it's the only time we get bluegrass music. And so it's sort of implied that these three teenagers are really digging this bluegrass vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, go
They're
ahead.
ahead of the curve or something, or behind the curve. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
something. But it's cool. It's Kevin Bacon. It's one of his first roles, but everybody knows who Kevin Bacon is now from Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special fame. That's probably what he's most known for.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. That and Trimmers. Those are the two big things.
I love Tremors, which I
Me too.
heard that he wants to make a direct sequel to Tremors, and I'm all for it.
Me too. Oh,
Yeah. I love Tremors. It's
me too.
awesome.
I mean, it's a great movie.
So Kevin Bacon and his girl and the other guy, they get to camp. And I don't know if you're aware of this, Keith, but there are Friday the 13th parties where you go dressed up as a Friday the 13th character.
Mm.
And, my friends aren't cool enough, so I've never been to a Friday the
Me either.
13th party. But I'm going to tell you, if I went to a Friday the 13th party, Steve, the head of this camp, is exactly what I would dress as. We see him. I'm going to paint the picture for you. He's got boots on, socks pulled up, cut off jeans,
Hmm.
a bandana, no shirt, and glasses.
But you might be thinking, oh, the bandana's on his head. You would be wrong. He's rocking the Fred from Scooby-Doo style around his neck.
That's 100% how I would show up.
And
to
a
Friday the 13th
petastache.
party.
Let's not forget the petastache. as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm never shaving my beard, so I couldn't swing that. But everything else, I'm showing up as Steve.
Yeah.
Then, so we meet Steve. We also meet Alice, who is actually, spoiler alert, the true final girl.
Mhm.
And it's implied that her and Steve have something going on.
It's
And-
creepy because you would assume she's young and he's older, and there's like that weird touch because she's trying to leave and he doesn't want to let her leave, and then he's also, I guess, chopping wood. Whatever.
Yes. And it's kind of like the last movie, The Changeling, where the age difference between George C. Scott and the realtor. But they're both younger, but they're both younger. So
Yeah.
it still seems like there is an age gap
Yeah.
with that. But it's super weird, especially when it never comes up again.
At all.
Not even nothing. There is no moment. I mean, she gets closer to the other guy at some point. It
Yeah.
seems like they had something going on too.
Well, it also seems like the other guy, like there is this weird dynamic because there's a moment where he's trying to calm her down later in the movie, and he like rubs her arm similar to the way Steve does at the beginning, and it's almost like there's a look in her face where she's almost like, well, I can't. But maybe I'm reading into it too much. But it feels like there's a layer there that they're just never discussing. But there is that cringy aspect of Steve is amongst these kids seen as the adult. And all of the others, we see them as children, kind of, but they're not children. It's a weird dynamic. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because even when this movie was made, I looked it up. I think Alice was 25.
Okay.
So, but that's not really what she was playing. It
No,
didn't
not
feel
at all.
that way.
No.
It seemed like these were like kids in their 20s, 21 tops. Maybe even 19. 18.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking.
It just anywhere that. And Steve seems like he's like working on his 40s.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like. And they
Yeah.
had some. So that's kind of weird, especially like I said, when they don't go back to it. It's just odd that they
Mhm.
even threw that in there, quite frankly. We get, more killer POV as we're meeting the rest of the cast of counselors. They're having a good time. They're working on the camp and stuff. But one of the things, and this is my favorite girl, Brenda, she is taking a target to put up in the archery range.
Mhm.
And when she puts up the target, an arrow flies by and goes straight through the target. And it is not by the killer, it's shot by Ned, who is one of my least favorite characters in horror movie history. Not just this movie. He is terrible. I cannot stand Ned. Just think about real life. You're shooting an arrow
Yeah.
at a target. No way.
I would have decked Ned. Like, first of all, I would have punched Ned in the face, and then I would have been like,
100%.
in retrospect, I've been like, I mean, it was an impressive shot, but still, fuck you, Ned. You know what I mean? Like, that's the turmoil
Yeah.
that I would have. Yeah. Plus,
Exactly.
Brenda's cute.
And I'll tell you
Like,
this, I remember Brenda's awesome.
Yeah.
She's my favorite,
she's cute.
out of all of them. But so I remember in the video store, the box, Friday the 13th VHS box, on the back of the box, that was one of the shots. The
Oh.
screen stills was Brenda with the arrow going through the target.
Oh
Because
yeah.
it made it look like she was being shot at by an arrow. And I just remember that, like, to this day, being a kid, before I even saw the movie, looking at the back of the box. And I think when I saw that the first time, I was like, you mean that wasn't even like the killer? You know what I mean? Like, I was pissed. I was like, they tricked me. The back of the box tricked me. Even though we got all these other kills, that is not what you alluded to on the back of the box.
You lied to me. Promotional art. My thing about Brenda is, I'm just gonna be upfront. Part of the thing about any of these slasher movies is they want you to be attracted to all of the girls, and they succeed. All these girls are super fucking cute. But the problem is, like, I think the vast majority of them all seem the same age, except for Brenda seems a little bit older to me, like, and always has. So I think it's more okay for me to like her. But then when she's like, there's a moment where she's like, let's see if they have any grass left. And I'm like, you're a narc, Brenda. You're an undercover cop.
Yeah, exactly. I do feel like if there was a second in command, you could say it's Alice because Steve's been hooking up with Alice, but
Yeah.
it seems like Brenda's, like you said, the most mature
Yeah.
out of all of them. There's several moments where she is head and shoulders above everybody else, I feel like, and we'll get to that as we go on, but I'm going to point those out, trust me, because I am a fan of Brenda.
Yeah.
But now we're going to jump back to, who you would think is the original a final girl where she's hitchhiked. The guy can only take her halfway or whatever. So now she's going to walk the rest of the way to the camp. Now she gets picked up again. And again, we don't see who's driving. This is, they're building up a mystery to a degree. The problem is you don't really know who to think it even could be, with the exception of maybe Crazy Ralph. But his mode of transportation is bicycle. We already know that.
Unless you think he's riding his bicycle to where he secretly has his Jeep stored. But that's a lot of preparation for a guy whose first name is Crazy. So I don't think that's what's going on here.
I also feel like the reason why Crazy Ralph rides a bicycle is because there's no way that the state would give him a driver's license.
No, 100%.
He does not have a driver's license.
Or like Crazy Ralph has like tremors, like some terrible thing that he has a medical condition that we're not talking about, that we don't know, that's been what's driven him crazy. Again, I just think there's a lot of potential for story with Crazy Ralph. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's what I think. The prequel series, Crystal Lake, I think they're probably going to focus on Crazy Ralph. That's probably what they should do.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
Yep. So she gets picked up by this person. You don't know who it is. And the Jeep just drives by the turn where the camp is. So the girl's freaking out. She's scared. She says, you missed the turn. She gets freaked out enough that she actually jumps out of the moving vehicle. And then, the chase ensues. Again, you still don't see the killer. And, you're thinking like, well, okay, well, she's going to make it to camp and tell him what happened. Nope, she's not the final girl. She gets her throat slit just right there in the woods. And it looked pretty good too.
Yeah.
As far as some of the kills are like kind of off screen and stuff, this one's a pretty good one. Just slitting her throat. So she's dead. We're done with her. Final girl. Meanwhile, we're back to Ned being the worst possible. I mean, his pranks are ridiculous. His jokes are horrible. And even in like 1980, he's being offensive and annoying almost.
Doesn't he do like a Humphrey Bogart impression? And then Kevin Bacon's girlfriend does some other dead for 50 years.
yes. Like, don't worry, darling. I'll be there right away.
Yeah. It's like if I would have started this show every time by doing an Art Carney impression, that's what's going to get the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to recite Mark Twain for you guys.
She's 18 years old and she's like a huge fan.
Yeah, huge fan. It's so weird.
Ned is even doing his shtick to a cop a cop shows up. And Ned is still like, dude, stop being an idiot.
But that is
like an idiot.
That is what I would dress for the Friday the 13th costume party. I would do the Ned as the Native American First Nation thing. That's what I would do.
So you go for the offensive route. Got it. Okay.
Absolutely.
No problem.
With this red beard, it's sure to go over well.
But yeah, he's just an idiot to the cop. So the cop is there looking for Crazy Ralph. So now you could maybe think, they're setting up Crazy Ralph as a red herring. We saw him at the beginning. He was a weirdo. Now nobody knows where he is. So yeah, maybe he's out killing these people, but he's not, for some crazy reason, because his name's Crazy Ralph. He's hiding in the pantry, waiting for someone to open the door. Like, he doesn't walk up to the kids to tell them, get out of here. You're doomed.
He's looking at soup.
In the pantry.
He's got dementia. He just rode his bike over here. Also, like, I hate the cop. The cop is my least favorite character. The motorcycle cop. I'm fine with the other one. But the motorcycle cop is shitty at his job because you tell me you didn't look and see Crazy Ralph's bicycle, like right fucking there. You know what he drives. Yeah. And like Crazy Ralph just walks up and grabs it and leaves. Like, it's so bad.
It's right in the middle.
Exactly. Right in the middle.
Like on the road. Yes.
Yeah.
He literally could have parked his motorcycle beside. Was he on a motorcycle? Yeah, he was. Yeah, because they kept looking at it. And he literally could have parked his motorcycle beside the bicycle.
He has to go past where the bicycle is, or supposed to be, to pull around so he can go back out. That pole is where the bicycle should be.
Why are we showing that?
I don't know. I don't know.
There's no reason to show the cop turn around and ride off. It makes no sense
at all.
It's ridiculous. I mean, sure, logistically, I'm sure the cop had to turn around to leave the camp.
Yeah,
We don't have to see that. It's a
at
movie.
all. You gave me a minute and a half of that. That's
So he's chilling in the pantry. He scares Alice, and now he repeats his shtick from earlier to the actual final girl.
you're all
So now Alice gets
someone farted. Yeah,
exactly. Some other people, see him, and they're just like, "Get out of here, old man!" And he just gets on his bike and leaves. And I feel like conservatively, we watch him ride away.
I wonder
45 seconds conservatively,
easily.
just nothing else happening. He's riding away.
I wonder if that's what Sean S. Cunningham thinks his trademark is. Yeah, it seems great, but we have to watch them leave for a long time.
It's realism, baby, realism. It even cuts back to them watching him leave, and then and so you think, okay, that's fine. Then it cuts back to him writing more.
Yeah, and they're not even watching him like that was weird. They're sort of like leaning up against the thing, like there goes Crazy Ralph. Like it's so weird. But also during all of this, old man fucks with kids has left to go into town to get supplies. A paint thinner, I think, was the only thing he was supposed to be getting, and it takes him all day because I guess there are no stores.
Exactly. Getting back to like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And it's clearly early in the day.
And also, when we see him coming back, he doesn't have anything with him. Like when we see him starting to, like he just went to a diner.
That's what I mean. So he went to a diner. So he just told them he was going to do stuff for them to do the work, and then he just went and got food. That's what happened.
That's what it is. Okay.
Seriously, if we're being real, like he had the tractor trailers. What happened? He had to leave it. That's why he didn't have anything. He was pulling something. He had it. So they didn't mess up that plot point. They were definitely on it with Steve.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But Crazy Ralph, he's gone. I'm thinking like, okay, can we kill Ned already? Please. This dude is even walking all sad and annoying. He's annoying when he's by himself, not even speaking. I'm like, please get out of here. And he thinks he sees somebody. Well, he doesn't think. He does see somebody walk into it, like a cabin or a house, and he follows them. I've got my fingers crossed, praying that he's going to be killed because I'm tired of him, and he's barely in the movie.
Also, what
he's
a
the worst.
What a weird way to pray, dear Heavenly Father, please. Like that's.
That's usually what I pray for, is to people die in movies. That's like the main 85%, I would say. That's what it is. The rest is like to be rich and health for my family and all that stuff. But kill off these people in movies, especially horror movies. Golly, they make them so annoying sometimes. But so he's super annoying. But it's like you're saying, the girls in this, they're attractive.
Very.
But also, I still feel like what this movie does really well, that a lot of slashers don't do, is they make all of the girls, if you didn't know, they could all be the final girl.
Absolutely.
You get a piece that you'd be like, oh, well, that's the final girl because this person has, a backstory. This person has this. This is the strong one. It really could be anyone. Again, one of them's already been killed. That could have been the final girl because the way they set it up. And now we've got, Kevin Bacon with his girl, and she has like some talk about some dream or whatever.
That's so intense.
That's a final girl speech.
Absolutely. Yeah. And here's the thing too, that I feel that's so weird about the Friday the 13th, this movie in particular, is that there's moments when these are supposed to be kids, but they're listening to bluegrass and saying weird shit that kids wouldn't say. And then out of nowhere, they'll say a line like, "What hath God wrought?" That's like such a good line. And I'm like, that's great. Also, who the fuck? You must have had another writer come in. But I also like the fact that Bacon, at the end of that little monologue that she gives, he says something. I think it's like, "Let's go," but you can hear his original accent coming out a little bit. And I'm like, oh, there it is. That's awesome. There's that Philadelphia. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember that perfectly. But yeah, so she gives a speech. They talk about the weather, like it's like you said, like I said, it could easily be, oh, no, she's the final girl now.
Yeah.
Like, so now we go to, it's just Brenda, Alice, and the other guy that's there because Ned is now missing, which no one
Cares.
No one cares at all, because they even say like, hey, I wonder where Kevin Bacon and his girl are. And they're like, oh, they're probably off making out. But no one says, yeah, but what about Ned?
No.
So they don't like him either. Clearly, they don't like. They're on the same page as me. So it's the three of them, and then my girl Brenda. Again, it's two girls and a guy, and she suggests strip Monopoly. Perfect.
What? But
She's
also,
the perfect woman so far.
she is the perfect woman. Also, a weird game to play strip to, but fine. That's totally fine. And again, I think she's a narc trying to fit in with the kids, because even the way she's like it is like, you'll enjoy the way I play Monopoly, stripping with grass and underage alcohol consumption. Like, fucking, you're a cop, Brenda. You can't convince me otherwise.
It's just like that meme with Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
Where
Hello,
he's
fellow
like-
kids.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way she's acting now. Strip, because it's like most people play strip poker. And she's
Yeah.
like, strip Monopoly. That's what it is, right? Wink, wink.
Reinforcing capitalism. Yep. Go for it.
So they just are going to start that. Then we cut to Kevin Bacon and his girl making out, and we get like a glimpse of a boob, but
Yeah. Kevin
It's
Bacon
not-
grabs one, and but that's it. And the sex scene is very gentle of a sex scene. Though I do love the shot where it's like going up from them up the bedpost, and then you reveal Ned. You reveal where Ned is. He's dead on the top bunk. But I feel that this movie, prayers answered indeed. I feel this movie. There's a scene earlier where they're on the dock of Camp Crystal Lake itself, and somebody's talking, and I think it's other dude walks into frame while he's wearing a Speedo, and you just see way too much of his penis through the Speedo. Like, it's uncomfortable how much of his penis you see. And then from the moment Kevin Bacon's girlfriend puts her shirt back on, I see more of her breasts through her shirt than I did when she didn't have a shirt on. You know what I mean? And I feel it's just like,
right.
this is weird. Are you guys just pulling on the back of their clothes to make sure that I see everything? What are you doing? Anyway.
Exactly. But it's like you said, we pan up and we see that Ned is dead. So I'm definitely torn on this, because I'm so happy he's dead, but I didn't get to see it. I didn't, and they just didn't show it. And I just feel like it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you want to see the kills, first of all. I mean, that's what half these slasher movies are. But the fact that they made this guy annoying and we don't get to see it. I mean, I get it, but like, oh man, I wish we would have seen him die. I would have liked it much better.
I think we're still at that early place where the slasher film hasn't developed that we are in it to see the kills yet. You know what I mean? I think that happens a little bit
That's
later.
true.
Yeah. As we get
Yeah, I
more
can
into the
see
creative
that.
kills. Yeah.
Yeah, because even like again, this is a ripoff, like they said, of Halloween. And the Halloween kills are, I mean, there's not that many, first of all. And they're not like super creative. Like, the phone cord, that's pretty cool, and on Halloween and stuff. But yeah, it's not, I see what you're saying. It's not necessarily inventive kills yet, for sure.
Yeah. And like, because even Halloween, I think the biggest one is the knife stab into the wall with the head tilt. Like, that's the biggest kill moment, I think, from the first one.
Yeah. But to me too, that's also, it's the head tilt is what you remember about that, and that's awesome. And it's, Michael, not necessarily just to stab through the wall. Yeah. So anyway, I digress with that. So now we're back to the Monopoly game. They're actually playing it now. And as much as crazy stuff that happened in this movie, this is the thing that drove me the most crazy. When they're playing Monopoly, they are playing counterclockwise.
Oh God.
I don't understand who plays games counterclockwise. I can't even wrap my head around that at all. It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that they're playing that. I don't care about Ghost Kid jumping up at the end. This is the craziest moment of the film. Counter freaking clockwise.
Ridiculous.
It is. It is. Like, I will die on that hill. I do not like the counterclockwise Monopoly move.
That's probably just an aesthetic for the camera, since they already had the blocking, and it's better to go this way than that way. But yeah, it's weird.
So we just see a little bit of that, teasing a little bit of clothes coming off and things like that. But then back to Kevin Bacon and his girl. They just finished, and she's going to go to the bathroom. And so Kevin Bacon's just laying there. And to me, this is the coolest kill
Yeah.
of the film, where the hand comes up from under the bed.
Well,
grabs his
before
head, and
that,
an arrow.
he gets the devil's lettuce, starts smoking a little bit of that, then the drop of blood, then the hand, then
Oh yeah, drop of blood.
yeah, then the arrow. So showing he's a cool kid by smoking a joint, and then blood. It's a great 1-2 punch. I love that kill.
I mean, if you got to go, you just had sex, now you're smoking weed. I mean,
Hit
so-
all of them. Yeah. Why don't you go drink and drive next, and then come back and get killed?
Exactly. Exactly. So, what that implies is obviously is that the killer was under the bed the entire time during that sex scene.
Yeah.
So this is the way I envision it. The killer has Ned and is putting Ned up in the bunk
Mhm.
and hears them coming. And they're like, oh shit, I've got to hide.
And then
because
here's
there's two
them
of them, I
coming.
can't-
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the killer hides under the bed. And then they're like, oh my gosh, when are they going to be done? Jeez Louise, I got to kill these kids.
Good. I'll do the arrow this time. Fuck. Like, also, you should be thankful that Kevin Bacon wasn't like on some porn shit. You know what I mean? Like, just to break that bed. So, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So Kevin Bacon's dead. Now we're in the bathroom with his girl. There's some tense moments where she thinks she hears something, things like that. But boom, she gets an axe in the head. Not bad as well. But she, again, another potential final girl, except for the fact she had sex. But a lot of this stuff is new. These are new rules too,
Yeah.
From the 80s. Even John Carpenter was saying that people took a lot of the stuff that I did in Halloween as rules and it meant something and it didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to say that, the virgin person should live and that if you have sex, you're going to die. It's just the way the story went or whatever. So again, they have sex immediately. They're killed in this film. I mean, it's immediately
Yeah.
they're killed. So back to the strip poker, got some clothes off, no one's naked, yet. And this is also a moment where you see that Brenda's awesome because Alice loses and she's about to take her shirt off. And something happens. I don't know if the door slings open or something where it's time
Storm
for-
knocks open. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brenda's like, yeah, I guess I got to go to bed. And she looks at Alice and she says, just when it was getting interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
So the third person now is hooked up with Alice or wants to hook up with Alice. No doubt
Alice
in my
is-
mind.
Yeah. Alice is just a hottie. She's the desired piece there. That's crazy.
It seems that way because, again, Brenda suggested strip poker with another girl and a guy, and it didn't get interesting. The guy already had his shirt off. It didn't get interesting until Alice was about to take her shirt off. So go Brenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Way to have some freedom and sexual liberty there. But also, I think Alice is super fucking cute. Like, there's no denying that.
Oh, no doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
all of them are for sure.
Yeah.
But, so she separates from the group. Brenda leaves. And so, again, I love Brenda. When she gets ready for bed, she's in a full ass nightgown, holding a candle like it's the 1800s.
Like she's Ebenezer fucking Scrooge.
Yeah.
Like, again,
what is happening?
Brenda is an 87-year-old woman that is pretending to be a teenager for whatever reason.
It all makes sense.
She was the only one there in 1958. Like, that's
Exactly. She was there to make sure that this tragedy doesn't happen again or whatever. But so, then Brenda hears like a child screaming for help. And, Brenda's going to go out there and check it out. But,
Mhm.
This is what I mean by Brenda's awesome. This is the things that she does in the film. When they were swimming in the water and stupid Ned almost died or whatever, her and Kevin Bacon run off the dock. She's the first one. She's the one that dives in first, and she's the one that finds him. Like she's the one that pulls him up
She's a
and
badass.
saves him.
Yeah.
She's a badass. And also earlier, when Steve is showing them how to use the generator, he takes the two guys and Brenda. So Brenda's there because she wants to know how this fucking generator works.
Well, it's also because Brenda's a single woman, a homeowner at the age of 48. So she's
Exactly. She's like, I might need this later. Exactly. So like I said, I love Brenda to death. And she goes to search, for this kid in the storm. It's pouring rain. Of course.
I do want to say I love that there are shots when it's so dark that you couldn't tell if there was rain. So they scratch the film. So it has like these little white fuzzy marks coming off. And it's so cheap, but good. Like I love it so much. It's such a great little trick. But yeah.
The white fuzzy marks that you're talking about, I was noticing that. And I was thinking like, does it look that way because this movie's so old? But no. So
it's
I see what
intentional.
you're saying.
Yeah. So they're trying to make it look like rain pouring. So
well, I knew they were trying to make it look like rain, but I was like, is that what rain looked like on bad 1980s film?
Yeah.
Or is that, a device they were trying to make it
Just
look
total
like rain?
device.
So,
Yeah. Because you can even tell when as Kevin Bacon's girlfriend's character is going into the bathroom, that's what's happening. And then she walks in and she's completely dry, but you're seeing it from that wide shot where she's still dry. It's just great. So go ahead.
Well, there's several times though where they are out in the rain and it's pouring. That
Yeah.
must have been miserable because it's like in
Absolutely.
the middle of the night. They are drenched.
And this
They-
is low budget as fuck. So yeah.
They probably don't even have heaters anywhere.
No.
Maybe it's terrible. And I even heard about the shooting of it is some of them would even stay at the camp, there and sleep there.
Yeah.
And
That was the
stuff.
housing and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
So now, Brenda's out looking for this child. And as kind of like a precursor to what happened before, she's at the archery range. The lights get flipped on and you don't see what happens to her, but presumably she gets an arrow through the chest for her troubles. And we're probably done with Brenda. Now, again, slasher movies now, or even just horror movies in general, a lot of times if you don't see the person die, they may not be dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but don't take that advice for The Last of Us with Rob's shitty take on episode 3 of Last of Us.
oh my goodness. Yeah.
God.
It's ridiculous. That's why he can't have takes on these horror movies because he
Yeah.
he doesn't know the rules. He's never seen Scream. He
I
doesn't
thought
know
we
the
were
rules.
watching Friday with Chris Tucker. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. So she's dead, presumably. Alice and the other guy, I can't even remember his name, Bill, his name's Bill, are together still from the Monopoly game. She thinks she heard a scream. And they think it's Brenda. Still, no one has mentioned Ned whatsoever. I still feel
Mm-mm.
like they mentioned Kevin Bacon and his girl here again.
Mhm.
They don't mention Ned. No one cares about
No.
Ned. So, they don't separate here, which is kind of cool. I like that aspect where they're like, let's go look to see what we can find out, because we heard a scream. We, thought we saw something, whatever the case may be. They go together and they go into one of the cabins. They find axe covered in blood.
Like
Now,
tucked into bed.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Not
It
just like
needs its
laying-
rest. No, it's
Yes.
it's got its
So-
night light on, all that stuff. Yeah.
So, the changeling, I asked you, at what point are you out of this house? And I didn't say this to the beginning, but I would say I would not even be in this movie because I hate the outdoors.
Me too.
The beach is the only thing I like. So I'm not going to be a counselor. I'm not going to be any part of this. So I'm not even in the beginning of this movie. But let's say, Keith, you're in this movie. You're with Alice. And you find this bloody axe. You just think this is a stupid Ned prank?
Let's define if I'm with Alice or not. Like if I'm with Alice, I can hold out for as long as she wants. If I'm just like hanging out with Alice, I'd be like, I don't want to stay at a camp. I like shitting in my toilet. Like, I'm going home. Like, so none of this would have occurred for me. You know what I mean? Like, so, but yeah, the moment I saw an axe tucked into bed, I would have
Covered in
been
blood.
covered in blood. I would have either ran or been like, well, we have to treat this axe better than any other axe in the world. Like, do you need a glass of milk, axe? What do you need? Like, read it a bedtime story, all that stuff. That's probably the weirdest thing in the movie, I think, is the fact that the killer, who we haven't got to yet, chucks the fucking axe in. That's just a weird move.
What it is, it's a weird way to offer suspense to these people because if you see a dead body, then they're automatically like,
They're gone.
really hardcore freaking out, running, screaming, whatever they need to do. But you also need to like have them worry, I guess, more than just the fact that they can't find anybody, you know. So,
but I feel
axe tucked in bed, which doesn't make sense, but
doesn't make sense. But I feel they, unless it's supposed to be a placeholder for a child, I guess. But like, I think they dismiss the axe covered in blood way too easily, and it could be because of Ned. But I feel like if you would have made the snake earlier in the movie that Alice finds in the cabin, Ned as well, then that would have all rung a little bit more true. But the fact the snake was a real snake, all right, fuck this place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
So, you know, they are freaked out though, to the degree that they want to call the cops.
Yeah.
So they bust into the office. The phones are dead. So now, again, there's a storm going on, but still, it's a little too coincidental now. We got an axe in a bed, a bloody axe in a bed, and then the phone doesn't work. And it does. We see that it's been cut. They don't see that the line's been cut, but that's why it's not working. And then the car's dead. Car doesn't work either. So I feel like at this point, I don't think I would go and hide in a cabin. I'd probably just walk down the road. I'm leaving this place. Like
yeah, but they do say it's 10 miles to the next crossroad. That's fuck it. I mean, it's wet outside, but I got a rain jacket. That's cool. I'll do it.
If it's 10 miles to the next crossroad, so we're saying the first girl that we thought was a final girl got dropped off and was planning on walking 10 miles.
Yeah.
Jeez, I missed that part, that it was 10. You tell me that dude couldn't drop her off. Come on,
the
dude.
trucker was an asshole, man. A lot of people in this movie are assholes.
Unbelievable. That just irritates me.
Yeah.
So,
but that's because we're from the South. This is New Jersey. Those people don't treat you right. I tell you what now.
I got you. Even though some of the Friday 13th movies are eventually filmed in the South, or some are filmed in Canada, they're all over the place.
They're all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm gone. I'm leaving. I don't care. Alice, you can come with me. We're getting out of here. The person or whatever happened obviously doesn't want us to leave. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave. So then we have the shot where Steve comes back. At least he meets up with he gets stuck or something. A cop picks up Steve, different cop from the cop you dislike.
Yeah.
And we're so close to the cop dropping Steve off to where everything's going to be found out. So I thought it was cool how they actually got the cop away by calling in like an accident or something, that, you know, the cop just had to drop Steve off and then Steve had to walk the rest of the way in. But when he walks in, he walks up on the killer, but he obviously knows the killer because he's like, "Hey, what are you doing out here?" So again, it's still the mystery, but the only mystery is that it's Crazy Ralph.
Yeah.
I mean, like, who else could it be if you're going to have somebody we've seen before?
Yeah.
You know, unless it's the trucker or something, but I mean, that stuff's just, kind of crazy. So now Steve's dead. We only have two left. We got Bill and Alice, and then all the lights get turned out in the entire camp, So what more do you need to get the hell out of that camp? But now they don't do what they should do. Now they do separate.
And Alice makes the most delicate cup of coffee.
Unbelievable. He goes to check the generator, and she makes coffee 5 times longer than Crazy Ralph riding his bike, leaving
with a spoon, and just gently like zoning the fuck out. Like it's a very peaceful shot, but I'm also like, is this a Dido music video? What the fuck are we doing here? Like, it's,
what it reminded me of a little bit. It reminded me of the most recent Scream, where the West character was in his house and he's setting the dinner. But it's played for laughs in the sense that like every cabinet he opens, the killer is going to be behind the cabinet and he's not. And so you're being suspense, and then it's like a roller coaster. It's funny.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's not what their intention here, but that's what it was. She'd open this, get this out, go to the stove. It's like taking forever.
It's so intricate with the gentle spoonfuls of like, it was just, it's a very weird scene. Yeah.
Again, after bloody axe, power cut out, phone doesn't work, car doesn't work, you can't find anybody. Yeah, we'll just have a cup of tea.
Yeah, you know what'll fix this? Folgers. That's
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous. So eventually Alice is like, what the hell am I doing? Making coffee. I need to go look for Bill or something.
Mhm.
So she goes and looks, and Bill has an arrow and he is up on the door.
Yeah.
A la Halloween. He's dead. And, I've seen this movie a ton of times as well, but it didn't hit me until this time. The murder weapon of choice
Is
is
an arrow.
An arrow. Like,
Yeah.
almost everybody gets killed with an arrow.
Yeah.
It's odd that it's an arrow.
Well, it's also odd that our killer just has gargantuan strength. Like to be
Yeah,
able
we're
to-
going to get to that in a second too. Yeah. So again, just killing people with arrows. It's weird. It's not what you think of when you think of Friday the 13th.
No,
That's
not
for
at all.
sure.
Mhm.
Arrows? What? So now Alice knows that somebody's dead. It's real if it wasn't before. So she locks herself in the cabin and she's back in the kitchen, and a dead body, my girl Brenda, gets
Mhm.
thrown through the window. And like you said, that's got to be a strong killer to
Absolutely.
throw a body with that force through a window.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, again, still Monopoly counterclockwise is the thing that doesn't make sense in this film. But yeah,
It's like I have difficulty. My house has like those domes over the lights. So when I'm standing on a chair and I have difficulty like holding that and screwing the light in, much less hoisting a body up in the air, driving an arrow through its eyeball hard enough to stick it through a fucking
Yeah.
door, and then running around to the next scene of the crime. Like, it's crazy.
it's funny you say running around because yeah, that's what happens. She throws the body, through the window. And the most I could do really maybe would be pick up a body and have the hand like hit the hold the
Glass.
arm, like making it hit.
Yeah.
That's about the best. But no, throw it. And then maybe 30 seconds later, a Jeep is pulling up. So threw the body, didn't wait for the aftermath. The killer had to run immediately through the woods to
In
hop
the rain, in
In
the
the rain.
pouring rain, gets in the Jeep, then gets out of the Jeep completely dry.
Yes, exactly.
There was a quick change involved. Like,
And clearly the Jeep was running. Yeah, you got to keep I got to keep this Jeep running because when
Yeah.
I throw this body through, I got to run and get in this Jeep real fast. So the Jeep pulls up, and now we see Pamela Voorhees, and Alice, obviously, rightly so, thinks this is a new person that's here to help because a dead body just got thrown through. This is a new person. This is not a killer. This is somebody that's going to help me. So
Yeah.
she runs up
it's
to
an
her.
it's an older woman. She's wearing a sweater. Like, clearly she
Awesome
could have been
sweater.
doing all this awesome sweater. Yeah.
Yes. And she's telling her what has happened. And, Pamela Voorhees does not seem like she believes her or she doesn't care, one or the other.
Mhm.
She's acting weird at the very least. And she's like, let me check it out or whatever. So she goes into the cabin. She sees dead Brenda and she still acts like, oh, it's terrible. Then she starts. So, Betsy Palmer is the actress that plays Mrs. Voorhees, and she is killing it in this role.
Absolutely.
She is amazing. When she starts talking about the past and what happened, I love it. She goes, they were making love instead of watching my child.
But she
Like,
also like throws herself on the door frame like when
Yeah.
she sees it.
just the fact that she calls it making love in that context tells you everything you need to know about her. Those camp counselors were not making love. That's not what they were doing, but that's all she knows. She's like, so everything is, so naive, except she's been killing people.
Yeah.
So now Alice she's got it figured out. She's freaking out. She, at the very least, thinks something's wrong here.
Yeah.
And so Mrs. Voorhees is clearly the killer. That's the spoiler,
She
She
tells
is
us the
the
story of
killer.
Jason, her son.
And and we get a flashback to him dying, drowning in the water. And I don't know what it is. We're 2 for 2, Keith. 2 kids dying.
Maybe that's what made the 80s great. A lot of child death. Oh,
I'm telling you, we'll see about the next one. We'll see if we're 3 for 3. If there's a secret child death or something. But anyway, so we flash back. We see her child Jason of actual Friday the 13th fame dying in the water, and that's what's caused her to go crazy. She's been doing this the whole time, not necessarily killing people, but stopping the camp
from
ever opening up. Like that's her MO. That's what she's doing. So her and Mrs. Voorhees fight, and Alice not necessarily knocks her out, but knocks her and gets away and runs off. So, and then again, like I said, Betsy Palmer killing it when she's doing the Jason voice where she's like, "Kill her, mommy, kill her." It's awesome.
She has the vacant eyes. It's so good. Oh,
yes. And she's like, he's like, "Don't let her live, mommy." And she's like, "I won't, Jason." It's awesome just how, fired up she is. And then the camera angle of walking through the woods, the way she's just like, it's a great shot of the way she's walking through the woods, stalking, Alice to a degree. But, then we get a fight. Alice gets away, chase, fight. Alice gets away. We get that, again, they're padding out this 94-minute runtime, movie. But in this, we do get a really cool shot, which I love, when Alice tricks her, kind of gets away, goes back to the cabin and hides in maybe the pantry. I think maybe she's in the pantry. I'm not sure where she's actually hiding, but she's setting up against the door, and there's a shot of the doorknob behind her head.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Voorhees came in and left where you think she left because of the sound. It sounds like she went out the door. And while Alice is like leaned up against the door, you see the doorknob starting to turn.
Yeah.
So that's a dope shot. I love that. Yeah. And then it starts shaking violently, and then she tries to bust through, Shining style, Jack Nicholson. She's busting through the door. Now, I believe now she has the machete, which is the Jason weapon of choice, at least. Yeah. Again, they fight again. Alice gets away again, runs to the shore, and Mrs. Voorhees comes up on her. And then you got the famous scene that I feel like, even if you've never seen this movie, you've probably seen this shot of slow motion, Alice picking up the machete and chopping off Mrs. Voorhees' head.
Yep. And the hands coming up, which I think are Tom Savini's hands, reaching for the head as it's disappearing. It's just such a great classic shot.
It is. And again, the fact that slow motion, the music, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So love it. No doubt she's dead. And inexplicably, Alice decides to get in a canoe and just take it to the middle of the lake for whatever reason.
That's how you deal with trauma. Some water therapy.
I guess it's trauma. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just, that's not the place I would go, is the middle of the lake in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And it's not even like you're going down the river.
No, it's a lake. You're stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's a lake, even though, once we get to Jason Takes Manhattan, they take the lake to Manhattan, but that is not canon yet at all. It is a lake. She's not going to Manhattan in this canoe. That's for sure. So now it's the morning, and she's chilling in the canoe, half asleep, half awake, whatever. And cops pull up. You're getting the music. Everything seems fine. And now we've got the one final jump scare a la Carrie, and quite frankly, it's awesome. The jump scare is awesome. And I feel like if you don't know it's coming, it's going to get you, because it is great. The cops are there. Everything does seem fine. And again, this is 1980 before this was jump scares, were like a thing. I know it happened in Carrie, like I said, but again, this seems super safe. And what happens is kid Jason jumps up out of the water. He's all disfigured and deformed, grabs her across the neck or the chest and pulls her into the water. And she wakes up like in a hospital bed screaming. Again, also kind of like Carrie, how she wakes up in the hospital bed. And, we find out, the aftermath of everything. And she asked about the kid, and they said they didn't find the kid. They don't know what you're talking about. And then she says, well, that means he's still out there.
He's still out there.
Yep.
He's still out there. Weird ass piano music by Tangerine Dream feeling stuff starts playing. Yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic fucking movie.
Classic. And the other thing with that is, so your take is that's clearly a dream at the end. Is that your take?
No, my take is I think all of the stuff happens. I just think her brain is having difficulty putting it together how it happened. I think she probably did run into Jason, but maybe it was like right before as the cops were arriving, they weren't as close or something like that. Because even the cop says, "We found you in the water. We barely got you out alive." You know what I mean?
Because the cops, if it happened in the way you see it, that one cop is clearly looking at her. He would, now you could also argue that he couldn't see and he just thought she fell back into the water.
Absolutely.
I just feel like the cop wasn't that far away. He'd see somebody jumping up and grabbing her and pulling her into the
But then also, if we go by the continuity and the canon of the sequel, he's not a little boy anymore, right? So,
and it's not that much later either.
Yeah. So I think it's probably something did probably drag her in the water, or she slipped and she was just having a nightmare. But I tend to think that something did grab her and pull her in, but she's just, projecting onto what it is because she can't put it all together yet. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. I'm not gonna say I agree with you, but it's also, it's plausible, certainly.
Yeah.
More plausible than what's presented in the film.
Absolutely.
Is what you're saying. So,
yeah.
That's fine. So, that's Friday the 13th. It, like you said, it is a classic. Now, as far as Letterboxd, I'd give it 3 out of 5. But if we're talking about its impact in the franchise, it's on the Mount Rushmore.
Of 100%
franchises. So, there are better sequels, and certainly they up the gore in some of the other sequels.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's some certain, issues with this. Like, we're talking about there's no need for us to see, Crazy Earl or Crazy Ralph, Earl, Crazy Ralph, ride away on his bike for an hour and a half. So, it's a good slasher movie. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And on Letterboxd, I gave it 4 stars. So that lets you know I'm a big fan of it. But again, I think it's because, I don't think a lot of the stuff it's doing is original. They straight up steal the Psycho score for a good portion of this movie.
Right.
But it is putting it together in a new packaging. The Big Mac is not the first hamburger, but God damn, does it taste good the way they make it? You know what I mean? And I feel this is the Big Mac of slasher flicks of the 80s. And it is a good, important stepping stone to what slasher films will become. And I think it's a great step in regards to stunt casting for horror films and playing against type with the Pamela Voorhees character, and her being, a wholesome image until this movie. And also the fact that we don't really meet our antagonist or understand the antagonist's story until way late in the fucking movie, which I think, late 70s, early 80s slasher films, you generally started with the killer's story. You found out what the plight was, what insult happened to them, and then we build on that. But this sort of withdraws and holds back information from us. I think it's just a lot of fun. I've watched this one dozens and dozens of times, just over the years. Every Friday the 13th, I'm watching some of them, and generally this gets into rotation because it is so fun.
Yeah, it's great. And then it also, again, Tom Savini. So he's a master. He's a legend in the horror community. And, we're going to see other Tom Savini influences in films and stuff that he's been a part of in our watches here. Yeah. And it's amazing what he can do.
Absolutely. And it's also amazing the impact you can have with a low budget. And you can tell this is a low budget film at times. And it's just, I enjoy it. I think long time ago, not too long, but before they announced the Camp Crystal Lake or the Crystal Lake prequel series, my writing partner and I, Trevor Garner, pitched to the owners of Friday the 13th a Camp Blood prequel series that was about that year in 57 and 58. Needless to say, they own the property, so they chose not to do that, and they're doing something else with it. But that's always what I've wanted to see, was the first Pamela Voorhees losing her fucking mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I would cast Jessica Chastain as young Pamela Voorhees. So that's what I would do.
So when you're talking about Jessica Chastain, are you talking about your prequel series, or are you talking about this? Because we're talking about, we recast.
Yeah, I think prequel series, it would be Jessica Chastain. I think if it's recasting this,
yep,
I would probably go Courtney Cox as Pamela, just to again play on the knowledge of it. And Alice reminds me a lot of Anya Taylor-Joy, but I also see sort of young Jessica Chastain from It Part 1, the chick that's in Dungeons and Dragons.
I gotcha.
I could see her as Alice. What about you? What would you do?
So as far as Pamela Voorhees, I would cast Angela Bassett. I think she would be incredible.
Incredible.
Like, again, I feel like Pamela Voorhees is so memorable, in this movie, and she's barely in it. She's barely in it. Now, I know she's Jason's mom and you remember her, but she's in it so little and she kills it so much. And I think Angela Bassett would be incredible.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Too. As far as, I was thinking more as far as Alice, like a Samara Weaving type. I know she might be a little too old, but I think she could still play like a 20-year-old as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of hers in general. So I'd go with Samara Weaving as Alice and Angela Bassett as Pamela Voorhees. And what's cool about that, if you cast Pamela Voorhees, not Pamela Voorhees, if you cast Angela Bassett, well, what does that do for Jason in the future? You know what I mean? So that's what I would go with the recasting on that. But
I think it's great. I think that's a great idea. I also think it's like, I think for a vast majority of the counselors, you need to have teenagers that are like unknown. You know what I mean? Like, because that's part of the fun of it. Also to see where they go.
Have Kevin Bacon be Steve.
That'd be fucking phenomenal. Or the truck driver. So that way he only has to work one day.
Yeah.
Well, I guess even Steve, he only has to work one day because the motherfucker leaves at the beginning of the movie.
Exactly. We just need you to have your shirt off a little bit, Kevin. Yeah. Is that cool?
But I wonder if this would work in modern times. Because I feel like they've already tried to remake a Friday the 13th, but they decided to go with Jason instead of Pamela.
Right.
I wonder if you could get away with doing the Pamela story and being successful.
Well, so what is your understanding of the prequel series? I don't know. It's about it all.
I have no idea.
Because I really was thinking it was Pamela.
Yeah. That's what, and by no means is our pitch super original, but we just had like a specific outline of it. But I think that's a really cool place to start with. And you could eventually, you don't have to stop. You can keep going. I mean, the implication here is that for years they've tried to open this camp and it never works out. So there's 20 years of horror that you can talk about. And is Jason actually still there? Does she know it? Is Jason following her? Like, is there the potential that Jason's the one that threw the body of Brenda through the window? And did some of the strong things that Pamela wouldn't be capable of? Because here's the thing. Pamela's like benching fucking dead bodies, but also has difficulty fighting Alice. Like Alice sneezes and she drops the machete. So I don't know. She's either the most spry senior or it comes and goes. Like she's our man from DC,
it's like that adrenaline rush where you lift a car off to save your child or whatever. She's done all the lifting she can do.
Absolutely.
And now Alice is the last one. She's out.
Yeah. I mean, it's past 9 o'clock. I'm surprised she's still going. But yeah, no, I love it. I totally see why it's on the list. I'm gonna watch any Friday the 13th. Just because they're super fun. So I can't wait for Crystal Lake, whatever it is. It'll be fun.
And even, again, I don't know about this prequel, but even the bad Friday the 13th movies, they're still fun to a degree. I mean, it's still, Jason, he's an iconic character. He's still at least going to be killing people, Yeah.
So, it's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
What are we doing next time?
Next is Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill.
Oh, a controversial one, but I'm excited about that. Starring Michael Caine.
I do not have a Dress to Kill shirt.
Well, Well, you're always dressed to kill. You're always looking good, sir.
That's true. I was thinking
Or-
about wearing a suit just to make that joke, but we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
I'll be the crossdresser. That's what I'll be. It's a mild spoiler alert for that movie. So thank you guys for tuning in and hearing all the scary stuff with us. Also, the director of the documentary, David A. Weiner, tweeted us, right?
Yes, I can't believe we forgot to mention Mr. Weiner, but so the podcast Twitter is NQC Podcast, and there were some tweets about the In Search of Darkness, how we're doing this, and he liked the tweet, he retweeted, he responded to it. He said he's a horror movie addict, so this is now apparently the official In Search of Darkness companion podcast. It just has to be now. Like, I don't know what
It
else,
has to be.
what else could you take from David Weiner replying to the podcast? I'm a horror movie addict.
He's in love with us. That's what it means right there.
I mean, clearly, like, I wouldn't be surprised when we do Dress to Kill if he's on the show with us. Like,
Yeah,
anything
absolutely.
can happen now.
Anything.
All bets are off.
We're gonna get Michael Caine. We're not really. But cool. But tune in for our next one for Dress to Kill, and be safe out there. And enjoy the not quite darkness, everyone.
Peace.